Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing Nelly Furtado's seventh studio album, aptly titled Seven. She spoke about not being sure what to name this project. She wrote apparently like 400 songs in the last 4 years for it, and decided, much like how fashion designers just call their collection a number, she decided, you know what, let's just call this project number seven, as it is my seventh studio album and also 7 years since her last project, The Ride, in 2017. I have reviewed that album on this channel and I will link it below in the description, as well as her 2006 album Loose and her 2012 album The Spirit Indestructible. And I love Nelly Furtado, okay? Let's make one thing very clear. She doesn't have a bum record. There are some albums that I think are slightly less, of an impact than others, but she's so versatile. Each project, you can tell she's really a chameleon, trying on different sounds, trying on different hats, and it really pays off, I think, mostly very well. But I think many of us were very excited for Pop Tato to come back. The Ride in 2017 was very much an indie, like alternative exploration. She was working with, St. Annie Clark of St. Vincent, and she was in Texas, if I believe correctly, working with certain producers down there. She wanted a very distinct sound that was not mainstream pop dance music, and even though it had some of that sentimentality creep in, but this album is a return to her sort of more Latin/urban dance pop roots, a little bit more akin to her albums Loose and The Spirit Indestructible, which are arguably her other two big pop records. Mi Plan is more like Latin pop, which is also kind of a pop record in itself. And of course, her first two albums as well have those moments. Folklore is much more subdued and a little bit more experimental as well. It explores more acoustic elements. But anyway, you're all probably familiar with Nelly and what she can do. So I was very excited for this project. She was one of the most anticipated artists of 2024 for me in terms of comeback albums that I wasn't 100% sure it was happening, but I felt pretty confident it would. And as the months creeped by, I was starting to get a little worried. I was like, Nelly girl, we gonna deliver this project? And then in July, it was announced with the song Corazon being released, although that's actually not the lead single. Love Bites, released in May with S.G. Lewis and Tovlo, or Tuvelo. I always have to remember how to pronounce that. Was technically the lead, which I didn't think was necessarily a great choice for a lead single, but it's definitely grown on me. I mean, it fits, I think, this album, although it kind of does feel a little bit more like a Tuvelo song than it does a Nelly Furtado song. But at the same time, this album is a cornucopia. This is definitely, Spirit Indestructible was kind of like that as well. It's a collection of different influences and sounds, and so it kind of runs the gamut. And so I think it belongs here in that regard. It's definitely a pop dance track. Like I said, it's definitely grown on me. There's a lot of different producers working on this project. Now, of course, in 2006, Timbaland was, the it producer, if you wanted to break into like urban pop radio. And Nelly and Timbaland created such an amazing project and body of work together that one might lament Timbaland not returning to work with her. They actually did do a collab called Keep Going Up that was actually released a year ago, which also featured Justin Timberlake. That song was a huge commercial flop and wasn't really at all anything. I think I talk about this when I'm talking about my anticipated albums of 2024 at the end of the year. It doesn't really, capture the same kind of, it felt like, the train had left the station a long time ago. Maybe the same fire couldn't be sparked twice. But, if Timbaland had been, able to get in the studio with Nelly here, maybe there would have been some more stuff cooking. But instead, we have T Minus, we have Wonder Girl, we have Dom Dolla. She seems to have traded in for these sort of more Canadian producers that, have a lot more, electronic dance music kind of leaning. And it works. And this album has, like I said, it has the sounds of Loose, which I was really hoping it would. It has the sounds of, The Spirit Indestructible. Yeah, and maybe it is overall slightly less of a full package as a project that I feel just completely like blows you away. I don't know if this is necessarily her most uh, standout record. Time will tell, but I definitely want to go through here and talk a little bit about, like, particularly some of my highlight songs here. Corazon, which was released in July, features the Colombian band Bomba Estéreo. And it's a really, it reminds me a lot of, it's a very Latin track. It's very, Colombian. And the one song that actually has some Spanish lyric in it. It reminds me a lot of No Hay Igual from Loose, and that sort of reggaeton energy is something I really love seeing coming from Nelly when she embraces that Latin side to her music. Nelly is actually Portuguese. She is not, I mean, that still is Latin, but she's not actually Spanish. And from she's not from Latin America, but she definitely fits right in with that scene with, Shakira. And so Corazon was an ear catch right away. I think it was an earworm. It's a bit slight. Some of these songs are a little shorter than I would like them to be. And so I lament that a little bit, but I love the rhythmic percussion. I love the Colombian flutes. Yeah, definitely love this song. It's quite a whirlwind of a dance track. And then, of course, like I said, we have Love Bites, which is an S.G. Lewis track, which has a little bit more of a, like I said, a Tuvalo sound. It really does feel like something that would have been on any of her records. It doesn't quite, fit in Nelly Furtado's type of sound, but Nelly still does her thing on it. It's a little bit more monotone. But I do like the harmonies. The harmonies, of Nelly and Tuvalo together are something that's really grown on me on this one. And so those are the two big singles. One thing I will lament is that we have not gotten a single music video for this album. We have only gotten visualizers. I don't know what's going on with her record label, or if it's her choice. I hope it's her choice. I hope it's not the record label shafting her on budget, because what happened to the music videos? This is something that I think is lamentable across the entire industry. Unfortunately, I think maybe Nelly Furtado, and there's maybe something to. I don't want to bring up Katy Perry too much in this review, because last Friday we had another big pop hitmaker try and make a comeback, and let's just say it did not do quite like. Let's just say Nelly Furtado's album, I think, might stand the test of time a little better. But saw one person tweet that these two albums, 143 and 7, were named after their actual charts numbers, their charting numbers on the Billboard. I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. That's kind of funny. I mean, sadly, Nelly is not, unfortunately, a streaming powerhouse anymore. I mean, she did have a resurgence on TikTok with some of her, hit songs. Promiscuous has always done numbers. Say It Right. Oh my God. Say It Right is like one of the best pop songs of the 2000s for me. One of my all-time favorites. And that had her that was what motivated her to get back in the studio and really pursue, and especially, get back out there and go on get out on the stage and work with DJs again, and kind of get her, dip her toe back. And in the last couple of years, we've seen her do that. She actually released a song with Dom Dalla last year called Eat Your Man, which I thought might have actually featured on this project, but it didn't end up making the cut. I really do think that maybe Nelly's trying to cut her losses here and be like, look, if I made these big budget YouTube videos, they would flop. People aren't checking for my music videos like it's 2006 anymore. So let's just do some cute visualizers and call it a day. Because we also have the third single, Honesty, which actually came out on release day, which has her again in this cute outfit, very chic, but it's just a visualizer. And some of these songs are kind of short too. It does give you this feeling of budget. Like, it's like there's something there, but it wasn't allowed to, become quite as full of a project. It does feel a little bit like we just needed to take a few more steps. And which is interesting, because she did spend a lot of time on this record. I mean, she spent years kind of collecting and recording all sorts of different songs. I do think we're going to get maybe some deluxe, bonus tracks. I'm kind of surprised there weren't any on release day. That's something also that we're seeing these days. Deluxe tracks are not coming out on release day anymore. They're coming out months later. And I'm a little torn on how I feel about that. On the one hand, it kind of makes the era extend, and it is exciting to think like there's more music to get. It's not all at once. Sometimes it can be a lot to digest. But on the other hand, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like some of these artists are deciding to tack on like so many songs onto a re-release where I'm starting to be like, is this an entirely new album? Like Victoria Monet is putting out a deluxe edition to Jaguar in a couple weeks, and if you look at like all the new songs, there's like 10 new songs on it. I'm sort of like, could this just be a new album? A lot of people came for SZA with that as well, with her supposed like her SOS Deluxe, which is now apparently going to be reworked into an entire third project. I think that sometimes, artists want to move on from these eras quicker than maybe us fans would like them to. And, creating the need to put out deluxe editions of albums like 6 months later kind of maybe makes them bloat the albums into more than what they really needed to be. Just put out all the songs on release day. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What are my standout songs here for me? Well, I already talked about Corazon and Love Bites are bops, okay? Honesty is definitely a bop. It's easy breezy, light on its feet. It does the job. And of course, the sentiment of the lyrics as well, pretty important. S.G. Lewis actually worked on this one as well. I think the other most, radio-friendly, up-tempo pop song, standalone song of hers would be Ready for Myself, which was produced by Dom Dalla, which is interesting because it's so different from, the song that she did with him, Eat Your Man. Ready for Myself, it feels like, a sister song sonically to Honesty. And I really love the confidence just oozing from this. I mean, it really has an earworm of a melody. I love the la da 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 da. Like I just want to blast this every morning as I'm getting out of bed. I mean, it has a little bit of like Real Housewives pop music. I mean, Nelly Furtado is a pop diva. I think that's fair to say, right? So like some of this is giving a little bit, Paris Hilton. But hey, Paris Hilton put out a pretty banger album, if I must say so myself. I'm not ashamed to say it. I was impressed by Paris Hilton's. What is interesting is 2006 is kind of having a resurgence right now because Paris Hilton just put out a new album, and that was, 20 years ago that her first came out, and she just put out a new record, and now Nelly Furtado following up with a loose follow-up, kind of probably an album that sounds closest to Loose that she's done to date. That's kind of interesting. I have to give a shout out to Crown, okay? I have to give a shout out to Crown featuring, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, Blackie? I'm not exactly sure. Black XE? I think he's a South African rapper. I love the melancholic cascading keys as they, white lies, I die, I cry when you look at me with those eyes. I see things you keep inside. I think actually, as far as the ballads on this record, this actually might be one of my favorites, which might be a little controversial. I think some of the ballads feel a little underbaked for me. But I love the sentimentality of this one. I love the sort of offbeat, interesting production, percussion layered on top of this, late at night melancholic synth keyboard. Showstopper opens us up, and this is one of the Wonder Girl tracks. I think Showstopper definitely has some of the influence, I think, of Loose. It reminds me a little bit of Glow with some of the production style. It gets a little messy for me at points with the production and with the vocals and the layering. But, it is a club anthem, and I think a decent opener for the record. And so one of the other big upbeat tracks is Save Your Breath, with a bunch of features. She shouts this out as like, this is a group recording, and telling someone off when, they keep trying to pull you back in and you've said, I've had enough, save your breath, I don't want to hear it anymore. Let's sweep out the dust from these streets, she says in the outro. I love how there's some outros. Loose had a lot of intros and outros. I actually wish there was somewhat more of those. The Spirit Indestructible had that as well. It really feels like you're in an organic studio session. You get a little bit of that energy. And then we have got Fantasy, Take Me Down. Take Me Down as these like yodels, which is a little off-putting at first, but stands on its own as a club banger. It's a little slight, again, some of these songs. Fantasy feels like it just needs another refrain, maybe a bridge, something to give it a little bit more staying power, because before it's, by the time you really sunk your teeth into it, it's over. I love that this song, I mean, it really does it feels like a night at Vegas. It feels like a whirlwind of ecstasy and debauchery. And it's just called to forget reality, literally, possibly by inebriation. But I don't want to show you my whole life. Let's stay in the fantasy. Let's just enjoy each other now. Let's keep all that baggage about each other kind of in the background for the time being. I think this song, again, it just captures those moments of 2000s party culture, pop dance music, like that kind of again, like a bunch of these songs, if they were on loose, I wouldn't clock it. Better for Worse, again, a little bit like Crown, some gorgeous higher register vocals from Nelly. I mean, she does have that signature nasal kind of sound, which I love. I know it's not for everyone. There ain't no sacrifice in your eyes, it's just empty. There ain't no righteousness in your disguise, you just use me. You fucking played me for better, for worse. With the artist Gray Hawken contributing in the kind of response with the trap production kind of underneath. Floodgate, again, it's slight. I want more from Floodgate. It's ecstatic, it's acoustic. It's about that, that moment, that being, swept up in the wave, the newness of a relationship. We've been feeling FaceTime. You can't deny it. I can't deny it. Oh, the way I'm loving your wave. I'm tripping on the first taste. Are you really down? Are you really down for me? Guess I'll wait and see the next time that I see you. I mean, this song is tripping over itself with like anticipation and giddy excitement. And I just want it to expand a little bit more. I want us to just, my biggest critique is these songs are too short. All Comes Back, featuring Charlotte Day Wilson, probably the strongest piano ballad for me, sonically, melodically. I believe Charlotte is another Canadian artist, so she really likes to rep, where she, her home country, which I really respect. It's funny how we stand in the fire thinking that we won't get burned. Can't say no to desire, even when we know we'll get hurt. Started with reluctance, I landed right in your lap. Then I tried to forget all of the warmth in your hands. Everything's disrupted. Can't remember the last time I laughed like that. It all comes back in the chorus. Coming back to, in the start of a new relationship, getting close to the fire again, even though we got burned last time. And it's just the gospel sultry vocal of both of them together is just, it's truly wonderful. Whereas Better Than Ever, don't know, Better Than Ever, which I believe was also going to be originally potentially the title of this record. I again think it's a little short for, you're going to do a piano ballad, I think it really needs some space. I think that there really needs to be a little bit more spotlighting of her vocal. A very earnest, personal number about resilience, and the emotion definitely comes through. I am just not as sold on, the overall composition, but, that's, I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just being honest about like, what my favorites are. And then we have track 14, the final track, Untitled, which is, I think, definitely the most personal on the record. Memories of Tina, they last on my skin after all. You want to meet someone you won't regret at all. Smashing your guitar and talking about your regrets. I wish you never came home drunk and said what you said. And it hurt like hell, and it did some things. There under your spell, and it clipped my wings. And I can't unpack the baggage that I have. I called the car and the guns were out, but you're begging me to let it bleed out. And my heart didn't die, but it didn't flow like before. Memories of Tina, finding you late at night and loving you till daylight, but it's over now, and it's all right. Because you gotta let go sometimes. You gotta lose. It's all right. I wasn't really able to find anything about this song. I know there's a story to it. There has to be something, who is Tina? She's singing about Tina Turner? I don't think so. But that was something that popped into my head as we did lose Tina Turner last year. Um, so my assumption is that Tina is a family member or friend who passed on. And I called the car and the guns were out. I mean, is that literal? When we say guns, are we talking about someone who maybe who died of gun violence? But you're begging me to let it bleed out. So you're finding someone on the street, finding someone literally after being shot, and they're telling you, "Let me go." There's no tourniquet that can stop this. Um, it's over now and it's all right. You've got to let go sometimes. You got to lose. It's all right. The song feels neither, the song definitely has a plaintive quality. However, it doesn't, and lamentative, but it doesn't necessarily feel entirely sorrowful in the chords. It's this sort of middle ground between hope and despair. Um, Melodically, it's not doing a lot that interesting for me, I will be honest with you. Um, it really does kind of feel like a deeply personal voice memo set to some piano chords, with just some variation in, in range to kind of follow along with the movement of the chords. It's a good closer, but I love the little uh, keyboard pirouettes, as I like to call them, at the end as we fade out. It's very kind of late night dive bar at the piano, just like processing through something. No one is, everyone's like aware that there's some trauma, but it's just also a vibe. It's just like an ambiance for everyone to have hushed, low conversations around. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a standout for me sonically or melodically, but I definitely think it has some of the most weight. And obviously, it does not have a title, and that makes me think that it's because it's sometimes some sorts of pain is too great to categorize or to name, or to contain. And so I think that has a lot to do with why she couldn't give it a title. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear anyone in the comments who might know a little bit more uh, about the story behind that song. It does definitely, to me, speak of finding someone you love potentially bleeding out and unable to be saved, and having to reconcile with their loss, potentially after some sort of like violent fight or altercation between them and someone else. I don't know. It's that's conjecture for me, but overall, a decent record. Could have used longer songs. Could have used some bridges. Could have used some, third chorus, returns. Which is interesting because actually so many of the songs on Loose and on The Spirit Indestructible were like 4 minutes or longer. She really liked longer songs on those projects. And now it's just everything is so short, and I can't help but think that there's this drive in the music industry today by record labels to say, like, if you make a song shorter, you're more likely to get Spotify streams and also maybe be able to push it on TikTok. Um, and that's just real. I just lament what TikTok and streaming have done to the music industry. I really do. I really do. Because it really does feel almost like almost every single song is half of what it should be. Um, and of course, this is not just for Nelly; it's for many pop artists today that I feel are suffering from this. But yeah, I mean, Nelly, has a lane that I think she rides wonderfully, and there's island vibes, there's, like I said, late night Miami vibes, party culture vibes, which I expected to kind of return a little bit, which we missed again on her last record. But there's some very, competent balladry here. Um, What are your thoughts? What are your favorites? Again, I think my ultimate favorites would probably be Honesty, Ready for Myself, Crown, Corazon, and maybe All Comes Back. I think those are the five big ones for me. But let me know yours in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in my next review. Peace, love, and light. Bye.